Hello and welcome back to the Horror of It All Movie Podcast, video edition. This time I am finally doing my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1983. I will be doing the rest of them any time I have free time, really, and I will definitely be doing every year for the rest of the 80s, as well as even after that, if I decide to. I might do something with the 70s and with the 90s, but I'm not sure yet. The 80s is my favorite decade for horror, so that's why I did it this way. I'm going to dive right in. My number 10 is a movie called Mortuary. This movie is definitely, I think, it seems to me more obscure. Scorpion put out this Blu-ray. It starred Bill Paxton, Christopher George, and Linda Day George. Pretty good cast. Pretty good movie, man. I mean, I'll run through the synopsis real quick. All the ones I just mentioned star in this chilling tale of horror-filled nightmares that comes startlingly close to reality. Charlie Parson has been having terrifying nightmares ever since her father drowned in a family swimming pool. She knows his death was not an accident. But no one believes her. That is, until her boyfriend Greg sees a hooded figure identical to the one that Charlie described as being in her nightmares in the town's mortuary. And so on. So it's definitely... I think it's definitely an underrated movie. I think it's pretty great. It's in my top 10, so I would love an even better Blu-ray, because, I mean, this one, it is a new transfer, of course, because I don't even know if there's another transfer, and it has one interview with the composer, but this would be a cool one for, like, I don't know, maybe Vinegar Syndrome or Severin or even Arrow, but it's pretty good. It's definitely good. That's my number 10, Mortuary. If you can't see the cover, the tagline, or long tagline, I guess it is, before your funeral, before you are buried, before you are covered with the last shovelful of dirt, be sure you are really dead. Number 10, Mortuary. Number 9. This one is more known, I guess. It is David Cronenberg's Videodrome. This is the Arrow release. This is a great release. It's an older release, I believe. I'm trying to find 2015. So yeah, but it is a really good release. This is the alternate cover, in case anybody's curious. But in case anybody's not familiar with Videodrome, I will read the quick synopsis. And so, yeah. If you are a fan of David Cronenberg and haven't seen Videodrome, I would be surprised, but hey, you could be just new or diving into it, or you just haven't checked it out yet. The tagline for this: long live the new flesh. Or is it just a line in the movie? I can't remember, because the cover does say, first it controls your mind, then it destroys your body. So yeah, body horror isn't for everybody. This is David Cronenberg. It's body horror. Combining the bio-horror elements of early films whilst in anatomically and technologically, this is a tongue themes of the later work, of his later work, Videodrome, exemplifies Cronenberg's extraordinary talent for making both visceral and cerebral cinema. Max Wren is looking for a fresh new content for his TV channel when he happens to come across an illegal S&M style broadcast called Videodrome. Embroiling his girlfriend Nikki in his search for the source, his journey begins to blur the lines between reality and fantasy as he works his way through Saddam, I can't read that. Saddam games, no idea. Shady organizations and body transformations stunningly realistic by the Oscar-winning makeup effects artist Rick Baker. Hailed by his contemporaries, John Carpenter said, "He's better than all of us combined." That's quite a statement, John Carpenter. And Martin Scorsese. No one makes films like he does. That is 100% true. As a genius, Videodrome was Cronenberg's most mature work to date and still stands as one of his greatest. There is a shit ton of special features on the Blu-ray. I know you can't really read it, but it's Arrow, of course it is. But my number 9, Videodrome. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you like David Cronenberg and haven't seen it, fucking check it out. What are you doing? Why are you watching this? Go watch this. Alright. I noticed in 1983, things are a little bit more obscure, but I also wanted to mention that I forgot to at the top. I meant to. 83 was a tricky year. Some of the other years were a little bit tricky, but 83 seemed to be the most tricky. Because some of my titles that I'm going to say, I find multiple years. But I put them in here for certain reasons that I will get to when I see it. Or, if it says it on the case, and I look it up online, and I find an exact release date that's 1983, I'm going with that. This is an example of that. My next one is Oli Lamel's Olivia. This isn't 100% horror, but if you look it up, it seems to be horror-esque. This is an amazing Vinegar Syndrome release. Amazing slipcase. Don't know if you can get the slipcase anymore. That's the reverse. And then you get 3 artworks with this one. This one's a little bit more risque. But yeah, Olivia is really good. It's from the director of Boogeyman. And Suzanne Love is also in it. But I'll read the quick synopsis and we will continue on. When she was a child, Olivia witnessed the horrifying and violent murder of her prostitute mother at the hands of an angry John. That is what it says. The hands of an angry John. Now an adult, she is married to an abusive and controlling factory worker, that is until her mother appears to her and demands that Olivia's avenge her death by seducing them, then slaying men while disposing of a body near the London Bridge. See, just by that little bit of the synopsis, you definitely get a feel of, I guess it is horror. I don't know why I was second-guessing myself, but again, like I said, it does say 1981 on it, but I'm including it in 1983 because I found the release date and it was 1983. Olivia. This, I believe I've talked about before with Vinegar Syndrome, with the Black Friday coming up. Get this, it'll be on sale. Another Vinegar Syndrome that actually, everything I find is 83. That I was very pleasantly surprised when I got this from Vinegar Syndrome, because as Olivia, I had not seen this. Mountaintop Motel Massacre. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I thought it might be good, but I loved it. I thought it was pretty great. This is the alternate artwork. But, like I said, I'll read a little bit of the quick synopsis, and we will continue on. Where are we at? This is number 6 already. Nice. 7. Sorry, 7. Elvin runs the the Mountaintop Motel, a cluster of ramshackle cabins nestled deep in Texas countryside. But Elvin, I don't know why I'm having trouble saying her name, isn't all there. Instead, tormented by ghostly voices and visions, which causes her to periodically lose her grip on reality until one fateful day, lost in a bout of insanity, she unwittingly murders her young daughter. Just going to leave it at that. This does have a couple interviews on it. Looks great. Of course does. I mean, this isn't just reviews for movies, but I always like to mention that, you know, even with when I'm doing the top whatever. My number 7, Mountaintop, Motel, Massacre. If you're curious with Olivia, because I skipped that, there's quite a bit on Olivia. There's an interview with Susan Love. There's an interview with the writer and assistant director. There is an interview with the cinematographer, an interview with the editor, and the behind-the-scenes featurette. All right. Now it's number 6. This, I would love to have I don't know about, I guess, better release, but because this one's good, but I'm talking about Lamberto Bava's Blade in the Dark. This movie is fucking underrated, in my opinion. 83 is more obscure. I've noticed the more it goes on, for sure. But A Blade in the Dark is pretty great. It's Italian. It's giallo-esque. Mario Bava may be best known for his lunatic lacerations of his Demons franchise, but A Blade in the Dark is arguably his most terrifying offering to date. It's definitely one of my favorites, that's for sure. This is probably right after Demons. Some people might even like it more than Demons. I love this movie. Giallo blood opera, which features some of the most grueling sequences in the genre's vast canon. A Blade in the Dark holds up a talented composer in a spacious Tuscany retreat. Unfortunately, a maniac is prowling the immediate environment, and no one, including it's supposed to say including, it's misspelled on here, including our heroic musician, is safe from his happy psychopath's collection of dangerously sharp weapons. This is an older release. It is B, I believe. Is it B? Yes, it is B. I can't remember if it's unlocked, even though it says B. But just for those all-region people, you can get that. I'm not sure if you can. I haven't looked it up, surprisingly, for another release, and I'm usually on top of that. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's Lamberto Bava. If you're a fan of him and you haven't seen Blade in the Dark, check it out. If you like Giallo, check it out. It's a later Giallo. It's not 70s. It's 80s. Obviously, it's 83. But yeah, I highly enjoy this, and I highly recommend it. There's an interview with the cinematographer, a Q&A with Lamberto Bava, and Italian opening credits and closing credits. That's about it. But Blade in the Dark, my number 6 of my top 10 favorite movies of 1983. I know I say that a lot throughout this. I apologize. This is another foreign disc and another obscure movie. My number 5, Extra. Now this had sequels. I haven't seen 3 yet, which Vinegar Syndrome put out. I have seen 2. It was alright. This movie is fucking good. It's a bit sci-fi. It's definitely horror. This release is probably hard to come by at this point. It's a German release. I don't even know if you can get it in America, but again, all regioners. So this video would be more for the all region people by the sounds for some of it. It's a great collection. I mean, it's got a Blu-ray, it's got 2 DVDs, and it's got 2 DVDs, 2 Blu-rays, and the soundtrack. But Extra is pretty great. I can't read the synopsis on here because it's in German, but I will do my best. It basically is about an alien that, a really fucked up alien that comes to Earth and I think takes over a boy's dad or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I definitely highly recommend it. Before the end of it, if I can find a good synopsis, I will let you know. But I do highly recommend that. This is my number 5, Extra. My number 4 is definitely, thankfully, for some, I don't know, a little bit more on the mainstream. Extro is definitely also one of those that you find different years. Like, I find 82, but like IMDb says 1982, Wikipedia says 1983, but the official release date, I think, was January 7th, 1983. So it's on the cusp in the U.S. That is a little foreshadowing for my number 1, because that is definitely an 82, but wasn't released in the U.S. until 1983. A little quick thing, because I wanted to say it. Tony's father, Sam, is abducted by aliens 3 years earlier, and he returns to Earth and seeks his wife and son. But she's been living with someone else. After an awkward reunion, Sam's not the same as he was when he left, and begins affecting Tony in frightening ways. That's a nice little tidbit. I wanted to include that. But anyway, my number 4 is a little bit more mainstream. It is John Carpenter's Christine, another Stephen King adaptation. I love Christine. If you don't know anything about Christine, it's basically about this guy who gets his first car and he falls in love with it like a lot of people do, except this car is alive and it is evil and it kills people and it can regenerate itself even when it gets into an accident. Pretty cool cast. I mean, Keith Gordon stars in it. John Stockwell. Alexandra Paul is in it. If you've seen the Dragnet movie, she was Connie Suela. But yeah, not much can be said about Christine. It's just Christine, and it's pretty great. So that's my number 5. I mean, I always fuck up my numbers. My number 4. I'm sure some people that do watch are like, wow, this guy's not like professional about his stuff or anything. I just do what I do and I throw it together and I have fun with it. If you like it, cool. If not, that's cool too. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter. My number 3 is a very obscure movie that needs a really good release. And I hope somebody can find the right elements. This is a super obscure DVD from the early 2000s, and that's how I initially discovered it. But I'm talking about Unhinged. Yes, it's my number 3 of 1983. And I know some people do have trouble with this movie, because I know some people think it might be boring. It takes a while to come, get to the point, I guess. But there's just something about it's just creepy. It's very atmospheric, and the kills are pretty fucking brutal once it gets there. That may sound like I am dogging on it, but I'm not. Definitely not. This is also another one that I see 1982 and 1983, but I am going with 1983. But this needs to come out on Blu-ray. It really does. This is a really cool DVD if you come across it, if you like the movie, or if you're curious. It has this little card in it that talks about, because this was it was banned in the UK. It was in with the whole Video Nasties thing. So I think it was a Video Nasty. I've done the Video Nasty videos, but I'm blanking on if it was an actual Video Nasty. I think it was. It was on that list somewhere. But yes, number 3 is Unhinged. Oh, I can briefly read the synopsis. When 3 beautiful young women crash their car in a blustery rainstorm, and wake up in a mysterious old mansion, they don't realize the magnitude of terror in store for them. Taken in by a spinster and her demented mother, violence unfolds in a unrelenting tale of sexual repression, returning again and again to savage brutality as it hurls towards its paralyzing climax. Graphic violence and full nudity caused this English Parliament to ban Unhinged in 1985. Fans were grieved as virtually every copy was pulled from the shelves worldwide. Now, for the first time ever, Unhinged is available to purchase. Again, this is a 2002 DVD. I saw this, I think, as an ad in a horror magazine, and I just had to have it. It sounded creepy. It just sounded great, and I gotta watch this again because it's been years. But that is my number 3, Unhinged. You can find it on something. There is a movie from 2020, I think, that's called Unhinged. That is not it. 1983 or 82, depending on what you see. Unhinged. Alright, now I'm at number 2. Sorry about the rambling and my usual bullshit, but it's kind of what I do. My number 2 is I have 2 different copies as I do for number 1. This one actually is for sure 1983. But like I said, the other ones have stipulations where they might have been released in another country, but number 1. But I'm talking about Psycho fucking 2. I have the Scream Factory and the Arrow. In my opinion, the Arrow is way better. It kind of looked just as good, but the fucking special features on the Arrow, of course the special features on the Arrow, it's pretty tame on the Scream Factory. It's cool. I mean, at least with the Scream Factory, it's cool. You get a slipcase and all, but this is a great fucking movie, man. It's 22 years later, and Norman Bates is coming home. That's really all you gotta know. This is one of the greatest sequels of all time. I know a lot of people might just be like, no, just Alfred Hitchcock and I'm good. That's cool. But you're really missing out because I love all the sequels, and number 2 is no exception. Number 2 is one of the greatest sequels of all time. If you know Psycho, and you know about Norman Bates, and you haven't seen the sequels, or anything really for that matter, obviously start with Alfred Hitchcock's, but the sequel is pretty fucking great. As I said, I pretty much, that's all you really need to know. 22 years later, Norman Bates is coming home. My number 2 is Psycho 2. Alright, and this is the time when I usually do my honorable mentions. I do have a few. The first one is is more of a recommendation than an honorable mention, that I kind of wanted to go with the Psycho 2. If anybody hasn't checked this out, definitely check it out. It is the Psycho Legacy. I don't know if this is ever put out on Blu-ray. It's a pretty cool release. It's 2 discs. Definitely the director that did this is great, and it's a documentary on the Psycho franchise, really. We all go a little mad sometimes. Check this out. If you like Psycho, or if you're checking out Psycho because I said that before, watch this when you're done with them, or before. Really, watch it after. But Psycho Legacy, recommendation. Alright. My 4 for my honorable mentions. Forgive me if any of them are different years, but for some reason, 83, a couple of years in the 80s, but 83 seemed to be the hardest with the mixed years. But I haven't seen this in forever. This is also still an old Arrow DVD. When I first started buying from Arrow, God, I've been buying from Arrow since they started, really. Deadly Spawn. Something awful is coming, hurling through the void in a meteor that's on a collision course with Earth. What terrifying entry in the annals of horror will be unleashed when the sinister intergalactic payload smashes into our planet? Answer: the Deadly Spawn. Another one that's pretty cool. It's not amazing, but it's an honorable mention. Is the anthology horror Nightmares. Now, The main one, like, people could disagree, but for me, the main story to watch this for is the one with Emilio Estevez. He is a video game hotshot and dares to take on a strange challenge, though it might cost him his life in The Bishop of Battle. There are 4 stories on this, but yes, Nightmares. There's a lot of movies with Nightmare, like Nightmare in a Damaged Rain or Nightmare on Elm Elm Street or whatever, but Nightmares is this one. I think there's another. Is there another? I think there's an Australian movie called Nightmares too. That's not it either. But this may be out of print because Screen Factory has been putting some of their stuff out of print. But if you like anthologies, it's a decent anthology. Like I said, in my opinion, the best story is the one with Emilio Estevez. That's why I would recommend it. All right. 2 more little honorable mentions, then I'll get to number 1, and then I'll get out of your way. This one is also a mixture of, is it 83? I think it's 83, because I do find that a lot online mostly. But it is mixed. This is a unique slipcase for this, but anyway, I didn't even say the movie. Mausoleum. Bittner Syndrome put it out. This slipcase is so nice, and it's gone, but for people who will go on eBay and want to get it, I do recommend Mausoleum. It's something else, that's for sure. The effects are old effects. Okay, there's definitely a weird green eye thing going on there, but obviously a good transfer. It's from the original camera negative. It's in John Carl Buechler did an interview on it because he did do the effects. The whole green eye thing, I don't know if that had anything to do with him, but yeah, it's pretty good. This is an older release. I believe you can still get it like this, but if you're curious about the reverse artwork, it is the original artwork. Pretty cool. But yes, that is my next to last honorable mention. Check out Mausoleum. It's pretty cool. Effects are a little wonky sometimes, but for the most part, they're great. I mean, they're pretty good. It's John Carl Buechler, so you can't really go wrong with his effects. He is a legend in that, really. A consummate blending of early 80s supernatural horror and slasher film tropes. That's all I'll say about it. Mausoleum. My last one is one of the weirdest but hilarious movies that I've ever seen. I even introduced it to my oldest, and he thought it was so weird. It's fun. It's silly. It's what's his name? Jackie Vernon. He did the voice. If you want to see Frosty the Snowman, the guy who did his voice, kill people, and I believe he's a cannibal too, Donald unwillingly stumbles upon a solution to 2 major problems in his life: his nagging wife and lack of decent meals. When one night, he bludgeons his better half to death with a salt grinder in a drunken rage. Thinking on his feet, Donald dismembers the body and sets about microwaving the remains, which turn out to be rather delicious. Problem is, now he has a taste for human flesh that needs satisfying. That sounds more horror than it really is. This movie is hilarious, especially if you have a dark sense of humor. Microwave Massacre. More obscure shit. Like, 1983 is obscure year, and I'm perfectly fine with it because it's a unique year. It's an obscure year, I guess. You know, I was born in 1983. I don't know if that's any connection there, but all right. So my number 1 favorite motherfucking movie of 1983, the year I was born. This movie came out in America in 1983, just days near my actual birthday. I am talking about one of my favorite movies of all time that I have, 10 t-shirts, a long sleeve shirt, posters. I have the original, a poster with the original title in Spanish, which translates to like Night of a Thousand Screams or something. Any of the horror fans that might be watching still, and they're into obscure horror, I guess, you might know what I'm talking about. I am talking about one of the greatest movies of all time, motherfucking Pieces. This is the Arrow one. This is the Grindhouse one. This is my favorite one out of the two. Usually, a lot of times when I have like this, because of the special features, great special features on this, yes. But the reason for this one is there is one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen, and I've watched the documentary on this disc more times than I've seen the pieces on this disc. Oh, I forgot to add that. I have a ridiculous amount of pieces. I have it on VHS. I have it on DVD. I have like, what, 3 DVDs? 3 or 4 DVDs? They're all different. They're all different. I don't do multiple copies of the same fucking movie. And then I have it twice on Blu-ray. If it is ever released on 4K, you goddamn right I'm going to fucking buy it. I'm a psycho for this movie. I don't even know if you can see it because this is really faded. But right here, it kind of looks like it's just a scratch. And that's how I wanted it. It looks like it's carved into my arm. It says Pieces. It's fucking Pieces, man. It's basically just it's a Spanish. I think it's a it's a Spanish, but some Italians in there too. I can't remember though. Anyway, it's basically just about this guy on a campus with a fucking chainsaw that dismembers people, and makes a human puzzle out of them. The movie starts with a boy who has his mother nagging him, and she hates the things that he has, and of course he's a kid, but he's getting curious, so he has some pornography, and he has a puzzle with a naked lady on it, and he can't take her shit anymore, so he axes her to death. But the reason why he doesn't get like committed or taken away in that respect is because he makes it sound like a killer came in and killed his mother. Fast forward, what is it? 30-something years later? And I will point out, some people, okay, I'm going to call him out. My friend, Brian, when he saw it, initially, the beginning where there's a little like pendant thing, I think, that says the New England Patriots. Well, at that time I think it was 40s. Yeah, so it was 40 years. At that time, they weren't the New England Patriots yet. So he had to point that out. I never noticed it, but I'm not a big sports guy, and I should know my New England stuff, but I really didn't think of that. Another thing I would mention, one of the copies that I have, there's a really weird dubbing issue where some people wouldn't even bother, but me and him talk about it now and then, that it completely fucked him. It didn't completely, but it seemed to take him out of the movie a little bit. There's a scene in most cuts where the main guy, one of his friends, gives him a message, and he says, "Oh no, is it bad news? I could just kill myself." That's how it normally is. But there's one cut, for some reason, just that part, nothing else seems to be out of place. He says, "Oh no, I could just die." But it's the way he says it that doesn't match him. So it's really weird dubbing in that moment. Yeah, it's just a weird moment that is very different and very out of place. But yeah, it's fucking Pieces, man, and I love Pieces, and I really need to do a video just about Pieces, and I'll probably nerd out about it, and I'm sure I'll forget something right now what I'm talking about, and all the more reason to make a whole video about Pieces. I watched it with Joe Bob, which was a dream come true. It was one of the last movies he played on his first From Dusk Till Dawn marathon. And that was amazing. That was a dream come true because I grew up watching Joe Bob when I was a little kid, when he was on the movie channel. And as I got older, I remember this way more with Monster Vision. And now, I mean, he's on Shudder, and I think it's better than any of those, especially because he has way more time. Like, there's no commercials on Shudder or anything. He can basically take all the time he wants. That might hinder some people when they're watching it, but hey, I happen to enjoy it. But yes, Pieces is great. I believe you can still get this version. This is the soundtrack, but it's fucking Pieces, man. It's Pieces. The version from Arrow is B, and this one I'm sure is out of print. It comes with a book, and a poster. I'm gonna unwrap this because it deserves to be. I have that T-shirt. I have that T-shirt. I just anytime I ever find anything that's Pieces, I have it. I just bought another one recently, so maybe I'm at like 11. Grindhouse put out a glow in the dark one, so yeah, of course I'm gonna buy that. Anyway, so this video at the end turned into about my number one being Pieces, but like I said, it was in America. It came out right around my birthday, my actual birthday, in 1983. So that's why it is my number one horror movie out of my top 10 of 1983. Motherfucking Pieces. Okay, I digress about Pieces. Thanks for checking out this video. Please like and subscribe if you will. That would be great. It really helps me out. I'm slowly getting more subscribers. It'd be nice to have more likes, but hey, you get what you get. But I have fun doing this. Sorry I ramble. Sometimes things are a little off here and there, but I do my best. Sorry it took a little while to do 1983. Hopefully 1984 won't, but no promises. I can do what I can do. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed my list, and maybe you found some recommendations you wanted to check out, especially if you haven't dived too deep into horror. 1983 is a great year for a deep dive into horror, because a lot of obscure shit came out in 1983. Again, the year I was born. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Check out my other videos. I have a lot of other videos. I will have Vinegar Syndrome videos coming up. I also will have another podcast that I'm going to be doing with a buddy of mine who I mentioned earlier. Coming up. I don't know when that'll be. It's pretty much just in talks right now, but it's definitely something we want to do. So if you came this far in this video and you're a fan, you might care about that. That one is actually going to be more oriented into particular metal bands and like rankings of their discographies. So that'll be fun. We'll see how that goes. It'll be definitely different than this, but I will post it on this channel, but it will also have its own channel. What else? I will be doing a podcast with Adam again finally, so that's definitely awesome. I'm glad to finally be doing that. We haven't nailed down exactly what we're going to do, but we kind of have. But in case that changes, I don't want to mention it here. But yeah. So I hope you continue enjoying my videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Please like below. That would be awesome. So this has been the Horror of It All Movie Podcast, video edition. Until next time.